She was first in every morning, last to leave every night. Her output was double anyone else on the team. Her manager praised her in every all hands. Her colleagues came to her when they were stuck, which was often because she was quietly running half the department from a mid-level title with a mid-level salary. Then the promotion was announced. Her name wasn't in it. Someone else's was. A person who worked fewer hours, produced less, and had been at the company for a shorter time. She assumed it was a mistake. It wasn't. She assumed it was politics. She was closer. But the real reason was something she never considered because nobody told her the actual rules of the game she was playing. Here's the thing nobody says in the onboarding session. Companies don't promote the people who work the hardest. They promote the people who make the decision maker feel the least amount of risk. Those are two completely different categories of person. And most high performers spend their entire career in the wrong one. The story most of us were told goes like this. Work hard, deliver results, be reliable. The rest takes care of itself. It's a clean story. It's logical. It maps onto how the world is supposed to work if the world were a spreadsheet, input effort, receive reward. But here's where the story breaks. If effort and promotion correlated the way we were taught they did, the highest performers in any organization would automatically rise to the top. Data would decide. The person with the best numbers would get the next title. That is not what happens. In study after study, in organization after organization, performance ratings and promotion rates have a surprisingly weak correlation. A 2019 analysis published in the Harvard Business Review found that the majority of managers who received promotions were not the highest rated performers in their peer group. They were the most visible ones, the most legible ones, the ones whose value was easiest for decision makers to explain in a 2-minute conversation. The hardest workers are often invisible, buried in the execution of work that nobody above them fully understands. And you cannot be promoted into a role that the person promoting you cannot articulate why you deserve. So what are companies actually optimizing for when they promote someone? Not output. Output belongs to the role you currently have. The question a promotion decision is really answering is this: will this person create problems for me at the next level? That's it. Stripped of all the language about leadership potential and cultural fit and readiness, what a manager is actually calculating is risk. Promoting someone is a bet. The manager who promotes you is attaching their own credibility to your performance at the next level. If you succeed, they look perceptive. If you struggle publicly, they look like they made a bad call. So the calculation isn't who deserves this, it's who is the safest choice. And safe, in this context, means predictable, legible. Someone whose performance at the next level the manager can already visualize because they've seen that person operate in adjacent spaces, build relationships upward, and handle visibility without breaking. The person buried in execution, even brilliant, irreplaceable execution, is not legible. Their value is real, but it lives in a place that the decision maker can't see. So the risk feels higher, and the safer choice gets the title. Here's where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. The better you are at your current job, the harder it becomes to leave it. This is called the indispensability trap. And it works like this. You are so good at what you do that your manager cannot imagine the function without you in it. Moving you up creates a gap that is expensive, disruptive, and politically complicated to fill. So the rational move from your manager's perspective is to keep you exactly where you are, give you positive feedback so you stay motivated, and quietly advocate for someone else when the promotion conversation happens. Your excellence became your ceiling. The cruelest part is the feedback loop this creates. The harder you work to demonstrate your value, the more essential you become in your current role, the more incentive the organization has to leave you there. You are being rewarded with praise and punished with stagnation simultaneously. And the mechanism producing both outcomes is the same thing. Your performance. This is not a broken system malfunctioning. This is the system working exactly as designed, optimizing for organizational continuity, not individual advancement. So if output doesn't drive promotion, what does? Pattern recognition. Decision makers promote people that they can see. Not see in the physical sense, see in the organizational sense. People whose work is legible to leadership, whose contributions are attached to their name in the memory of the people holding the decision. Here's the problem. The work that gets remembered is almost never the work that took the longest. Nobody walks out of a quarterly review remembering the analyst who spent 60 hours building the model that the deck was based on. They remember the person who presented the deck. Nobody credits the person who caught the error at 11 p.m. before the client meeting. They credit the person who ran the meeting. Attribution in organizations is brutally uneven. Credit flows toward visibility, and visibility flows toward the people who have learned to occupy it, not necessarily the people doing the underlying work. The high performer buried in execution is generating enormous value while someone else is standing in front of it. Let's make this concrete. 2 employees, same team, same start date. Call them Daniel and Marcus. Daniel is exceptional. He knows the product better than anyone. When something breaks, Daniel fixes it. When a client has a complex question, the answer comes from Daniel, filtered through someone else's email. He is the reason the team's numbers are good. He just isn't the reason anyone knows the team's numbers are good. Marcus is solid, not exceptional, but Marcus has coffee with the VP once a month. Marcus volunteers for the cross-functional project that has high visibility and low technical difficulty. Marcus gives a clean 3-minute summary of his team's work in the all-hands meeting, not because he did the most work, but because he understood that being seen summarizing work is more promotable than doing it. When the senior role opens, the VP who makes a final call is a clear mental image of Marcus delivering that summary calmly under pressure. The VP has a vague sense that Daniel is really valuable on the technical side, which is organizational language for, I can't picture him in the next role. Marcus gets the promotion. Daniel gets a LinkedIn recommendation that calls him an invaluable team member, which is the corporate equivalent of a participation trophy with very good grammar. Here's the distinction that most high performers resist accepting. There is a difference between being good at your job and being good at the game. Your job exists inside. The people who rise quickly are not always better at the technical work. They are better at a second set of skills that nobody puts in the job description: managing upward, building relationships across functions, making their contributions legible to the right people at the right moment. These skills feel uncomfortable to many high performers. They feel like performance, like self-promotion, like the thing you have to do instead of the real work. But here's what the research actually shows. A study from Stanford's Graduate School of Business found that executives who were rated highly on what researchers called network centrality, how connected they were across the organization, were promoted significantly faster than peers with equivalent performance ratings. The network wasn't a substitute for performance. It was the mechanism that made performance visible. The people who climb quickly aren't usually doing less work. They're doing 2 things at once: the work itself and the ongoing process of making sure the right people understand the value of the work. That second part isn't politics in the manipulative sense. It's communication. It's translation. It's the skill of connecting what you do to what the people above you care about. And it can be learned without becoming someone you're not. Most promotion decisions are not made in the formal meeting where they're announced. They're made in the informal conversation 3 weeks earlier, when a senior leader mentions a role opening to a manager and asks who they're thinking about. That conversation lasts maybe 4 minutes. The manager names 1 or 2 people. The names that come out of their mouth are the names that have been most recently, most clearly present in their mind. This is called the availability heuristic. The brain doesn't run a full analysis of every possible candidate. It retrieves the most vivid, most recent, most emotionally clear impression, and that becomes the starting point, which means the promotion was not decided by your annual performance review. It was decided by every informal touch point, every brief interaction, every moment of visible competence that accumulated in your manager's memory over the past several months. The person who gets promoted is not always the best. They are the most available, the most present in the decision-maker's mental model of what the next level looks like. If you've not been actively building that presence, not through manipulation, but through consistent, intentional visibility, you're not even in the conversation that decides your future. None of this requires becoming a different person. It requires adding a layer to what you're already doing. The first shift is from doing great work to making great work legible. Every significant contribution needs a moment of attribution, not self-aggrandizement, but clear, calm communication of what you did, why it mattered, and what outcome it produced. Not in every conversation, strategically, in the moments where decision makers are paying attention. The second shift is from depth to breadth of relationship. High performers tend to go deep in their function and thin everywhere else. The people who advance quickly tend to have a wider and shallower network across the organization, relationships with people in adjacent functions who can vouch for them in conversations they will never hear. The third shift is from reactive to proactive visibility. Stop waiting for your work to speak for itself. Start creating moments where your thinking, your judgment, and your perspective are visible to the people whose perception of you determines your trajectory. Volunteer for the cross-functional project, not because it's the most interesting work, but because it puts you in the room. None of this is manipulation. It's the basic skill of ensuring that the value you generate is actually seen by the people who decide what happens to you next. So why don't good employees get promoted? Because companies promote perceived safety, not demonstrated effort. Because the indispensability trap turns your best performance into your most effective cage. Because visibility bias means the people doing the most work are often the least legible to the people making decisions. And because the political skill gap, the gap between executing and communicating, is one most high performers never close because nobody told them it existed. The employee who works the hardest is often the last to advance. Not because the system is evil, because the system is human. And humans promote what they can see, understand, and feel safe betting on. Here's the question worth sitting with before you go back to your desk and open your tasks. The last 3 months of work you've done, how much of it do the people who decide your future actually know about? Not in the general sense of they know I'm busy. In the specific sense of they understand what I built, what it solved, and why it took the skill it took to pull off. If the answer is not much, that's not a performance problem. That's a visibility problem. And visibility, unlike talent, is something you can change by Friday. In the next video, we're going inside the specific signals, the things managers say and do, that tell you a promotion conversation is already happening about you, and how to read them before anyone says a word.